Welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. It's happy hour, and I am filled with joy. It should be called Joy Hour because joy is so infectious. In fact, I've got a rash here since the DNC. So I've invited my very favorite liberal, Jessica Tarlov. Jessica, welcome back to Kennedy Saves the World.
Thank you for having me
Cheers.
on this joyous occasion.
Do you know what this drink is called?
Joy.
The Red Scare.
Has so many meanings. And I just started getting my period again after birth. So that's
I guess
fun.
That's the red relief,
this
right?
Is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, It is a relief. I don't want to be pregnant ever again.
So I want to know your feeling because you went to the RNC.
I did.
And then, and was that your first time back after maternity leave?
It was my first week back, yeah. I landed and Trump got shot. And I was like, is this a joke?
Wow.
Because it's so nerve-wracking to come back and have to put together coherent sentences. And you're just,
baby brain is a real thing.
Totally. Don Lemon was onto something. He just shouldn't have said it in that way. So I'm already nervous, How do I look? How do I sound? I haven't seen my colleagues in forever. Plus, I'm going to the other team's convention.
Yeah.
And then Julie Tallarico, who books for all the special coverage, is like, can you be on camera in 45 minutes to talk about this? And I was like, I need makeup and hair more than I have ever needed in my life, so I'm not going on without that. Bless you.
But I have allergies and I just went swimming.
She swam. She didn't sink.
I didn't sink.
No.
Thank goodness. I mean, it was an either or there. It's a definite disjunct. Yeah.
Yeah, disjunct. Mm-hmm. So I was really nervous because you also have to, at moments like that, if you're doing it right, partisanship plays no role in it.
Absolutely.
Right? If you're, and I actually think that most people were really good about the attempted assassination.
Very few people were awful about it, and they got called out very quickly.
Right, and then they became VP. J.D. Vance was one of the awful ones and rewarded as such. But it adds so much pressure to the moment. And I ended up basically just standing, waiting to get on for 3 hours and then didn't, which let me compose my thoughts. And then I was on for the first time the day after. But the RNC was...
Okay, so at that point, Joe Biden is still the nominee.
Yeah.
He's not doing well. No. Everyone knows it. It's like they've reached critical mass. You can feel it outside of his tight inner circle.
And I'm not even sure if the tight inner circle wasn't feeling it. I think they were just saying, we don't care.
Yeah. No, we're going for it. He's amazing, and he's going to finish, and he deserves a second term.
Like, if DeSantis had managed to get through or Nikki Haley managed to get through, I don't know if Biden would have stuck as the nominee for as long. Because I think that there was a lot of weight that people give to the argument, like, I'm the one that beat him.
Yeah.
And that is true. And Biden has had the biggest appeal with, like, white working class voters, kind of these key demos that Trump made his base in 2016. But definitely, like, the debate, then it was just...
but that had to be, I was thinking about you, that has to be such a strange week, because you're like, there was an assassination attempt, and a lot of people went, well, he's going to be president now.
How could he not be?
Fight thing? Yeah. Like, who does that? Like, what incredible courage. Like, he survived this, a half an inch to the left,
I
and
almost
he would have been
voted
dead.
for him. Yeah. I was like, that's not true.
But I can imagine how the
there was an air
felt.
of inevitability, and we talked about it because you were there as well, writing for your column, and people, at least for the first 3.5 days, were walking around like, you can't touch us.
Yeah.
And even if there were things that I was observing that might help the Democratic side, like, Trump had been doing historically well with, like, Black voters and Latino voters, and I'm looking around, I'm like, this isn't really a diverse crowd. Not necessarily the convention has to be to reflect who's going to come out and vote, but, like, all of these little things, but it just didn't matter because it felt like this is completely cohesive.
Yep,
every speech was about him.
Yep.
Right. And then
the more there was inevitability, the more it felt like President Biden was digging in his heels.
100%.
So that had to be strange for you. And then, 3 weeks later, you go to the DNC.
With a new candidate.
Was such a different, and I even told people when I came back, like, I was actually happy to see people so happy. I don't like her politics. I don't like her as a person. I've followed her career for a long time. There's a lot about her I think she has gotten wrong. But everyone in the room was so happy in a way they could not have forecasted at the RNC.
No, absolutely not. I think that a little bit of not the downfall, but the the beginnings of maybe this isn't an inevitable for Trump was in his speech, which was like we were going through it line by line. And I was actually sitting with Mark Thiessen, who's a contributor as well. And he was Bush's speechwriter. And we're reading the lines and everything seems pretty normal. And then Trump starts going off script, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
then he does an extra 45 minutes of ad-libbing. And that was like a glimmer of maybe we still have a shot.
Yeah.
Then fast forward to Chicago.
I mean, I was on the floor with Harris and I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Like he had this thing sewn up. This would be
Right.
a
If he
perfect
just
moment
read the page.
to nail the dismount.
Yeah.
And, salute the judges. And that would have been it. That would have been great. He couldn't control himself. He couldn't do it. And it was so frustrating in the room because he lost the room. And there were times where he got him back and people were there. They wanted to be there for him
100%.
and hit the applause lines with him. But they, it's like there was a lot of meandering and people are kind of looking around at each other going, is this necessary?
Right. And it's late. Yeah. Like all of these little things that you don't think about when you're at an amazing concert, you do think about when you're at the DNC or the RNC. Like we're about to all pour out and I don't want to be stuck looking for my car in whatever lot. And I could see people, they started going on their phones. Yeah. They started just looking at each other. Some people were leaving. And I was like, okay, maybe we have a shot. Then fast forward to the DNC. And I totally agree with you. I hadn't been to a whole convention ever and had just been for a couple days of the 2016 convention for Hillary in Philly. It was all very rah-rah, woman card deal me in or whatever. But this was like everyone had gotten a seat on Cloud 9. And they were just...
But it felt like everyone was a part of it in a way that I haven't seen at Democrat conventions in the past. With Hillary, it felt like, gun to your head, you're going to support her, or you are dead to me. Like, you don't even have a choice here. You are literally Satan if you're a woman and you don't vote for her. Like, that was
still
the
believe
vibe.
That. But yes, that was
very
the vibe.
Intense.
Yeah.
But with Kamala, it was different. And it almost wasn't about her.
Well, I don't think that it was.
Yeah, it was about, like...
The party.
Oh my God, we don't have Joe. Like,
I think that for someone who doesn't love our politics, that definitely passes as an explanation for what was going on. And there was a lot of relief to it. And you saw that on Monday night where people were even nervous. Like, okay, it keeps getting pushed back. I mean, I think they should just put him at 9 p.m. and then do the back end of your program.
Sure.
Like, just make him look as fantastic as possible. But what I saw it more as was this moment where all of the different brands of Democrats. So there were Clinton Democrats, and Hillary gave a great speech that people were...
Better than Bill.
Bill, well...
I mean, I was slogging through that. Oh.
I felt that way, and then I was astounded to look, because I was up in our broadcast box. Everyone was paying attention, though.
Yeah.
And there were also... It was interesting to see a lot of Gen Zs interviewed afterwards who hadn't seen either Clinton.
Oh.
And they were like, this is cool. And I was like, yeah, this is cool.
But were they not there for the Me Too movement?
No, they were in, like, below college.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my daughters would have absolutely no idea who Bill Clinton is and what he has meant to the party and what a popular Democrat looked like before Barack Obama.
Right. That's the starting point. And then so you have the Clinton Democrats, then you have the Obama Democrats, which I think is at core a little bit of everyone who's a Democrat, right? Loves and Obama, at least. I thought Michelle outshone everyone.
I was just going to say, I was going to use that word. She outshone her husband.
And he admitted it. He was like, I'm the only guy dumb enough to try to follow that.
Yeah.
And then proved that he is not dumb at all. But it was interesting because she's obviously departed from when they go low, we go high. Mm-hmm. She didn't make the penis joke. He did that for her. But she was clearly saying, like, we're going for the jugular now because the end of Trump is possible.
Yes.
And that was the theme. It wasn't just because the expectation, I don't know what he's going to do, but he's probably not going to run if he loses for president again at 82.
All right. So he's not going to run again. I don't think there's anyone who would allow that to happen within the Republican Party because he will have lost 2 elections in a row.
And all the midterms.
But what happens, it's like if you're doing some objective long-term forecasting, I want to know it's like Trump, whatever, like he's already been president. His legacy is sealed with the people who adore him. But what happens to Kamala Harris if she wins or if she loses? And what happens to Gavin Newsom?
Well, so it was interesting because Gavin Newsom was being interviewed by Brett, our Brett, and said something like, he asked, why didn't you speak? And he said, I did everything I was asked to do. And then the LA Times yesterday published a piece that says that they wanted Newsom to speak Monday night. is like the big kickoff, because also he grew up with Kamala, right?
Yeah.
Like they came through the system together, and he said he couldn't get there in time, that he had his kids, whatever, gentle transition or to school, not trans thing before
Well,
years
wouldn't
ago.
shock me. It's California.
I know, but I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is definitely more hostile than it seems on the surface.
Yes.
And I was kind of surprised that
they tell you to speak Monday night at the DNC.
And you do it.
In the cycle where you conceivably could have been the nominee.
Right.
You absolutely do it.
Right.
But, and I don't know that they might have said, hey, here, speak at 6 o'clock for 15 minutes.
I think they gave,
they
to
definitely
their
marginalized
credit,
him, rightly so. He wanted an open convention more than anyone. Like,
totally, and he made a joke
is his biggest obstacle to the White House.
Well, I think the 2028 primary, if she loses, is going to be enormous and exciting.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
All of her, quote, rivals spoke, and I thought they were all amazing.
Well, Josh Shapiro was.
Totally. Barack Obama, bring
yeah,
it.
I don't know if you heard Bernie Sanders' former communication, that she called him Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And I was dying.
It's the best nickname.
Yeah. It was
and it's so accurate.
And I had never seen him speak in public. And I lost my mind. I'm like, thank you for being clever and, self-aware.
He is everything that he was billed to be.
Yeah.
Wes Moore, Gretchen Whitmer. And I thought...
Gretchen Whitmer sucked.
Oh, I didn't
I thought Wes Moore was very good.
Yeah.
I liked him. I did like some of the veteran Democrats. Pat Ryan, I thought, was good.
And like Kinzinger and...
He was awful. Kinzinger is... I know too much about him. And
sorry, I said the veteran Democrats.
Yeah.
I liked Elisa Slotkin a lot. Or Alyssa, how do you pronounce it?
Yeah, I didn't see her speech.
Oh. Well, whatever it is, whatever you thought of the individuals, what I thought that they did really well is they made a team of rivals.
Yes.
They were like, we are all...
It was well organized. Yeah. Like you could follow... the policy themes throughout, which I thought was...
people.
Yeah, that was
AOC, very on message.
Yeah, very smart. She absolutely sucks. But so if Kamala loses then does she go in 2028? Or is it like, no, I think baby, you had your chance?
I mean, I don't know if it's quite that brutal.
Yeah.
Because I think that she has garnered a lot of goodwill from how she's been running the campaign so far.
Yeah.
And... I mean, we'll see how it shakes out. If the election was today, it's a coin flip, maybe with a little bit of an edge towards her, which is a much better position than we could have ever dreamed of being
Certainly in the popular vote.
But I don't foresee people going back to her in a 2028 primary.
That is as much of a layup as you can get. Because she's taken no incoming through a primary cycle, which is, the biggest fear
which is the hard
for
part.
Your general election candidate is that, the people running against them in the primary inflict so much damage that you can't
walk out and
she didn't have any of that.
No.
Like if you have all the Biden-Harris money and all the donors
and the infrastructure, like you wake up, you have a winning campaign.
And you can't do that, like she does not deserve to run again. But it will be very interesting because I think Newsom's moment will have passed too in 2028.
I don't, because I think that he would have really struggled to run fresh out of California. Yes. Because I think that there's a lot that you can point to, like DeSantis did. I don't think DeSantis was good in that debate, but he was like, here's a poop chart, right, of all of the poops all over the city.
No one even remembers that DeSantis and Newsom debated.
Right, but I do, because it was great, and it was on our network.
It's wild.
But... you can land a lot of punches about what's going on in California.
Yeah.
Even if you love California, everyone we know who lives there.
How does he divorce himself from California?
Well, I think he serves, what does he have, 2 more years on his term.
Yeah.
And then who knows what his life looks like.
I mean, does he run for
Maybe
Senate?
He gets, well, I don't know. It's hard because that seat, the Butler seat, is going to go to Schiff.
Yeah.
So Schiff's not coming out. Alex Padilla is great. People have been really liking him. So you're not going to somehow kick the Latino guy off.
Yeah.
And Adam Schiff will murder him before he gives up that seat. He's like, I've been waiting my whole life for this. I also never really understood, I guess it gets you closer to power, quote unquote, but if you've been the governor of California, I kind of feel like besides president or VP, everything's a step down.
It really is.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, senator is always a great job because you only have to run every 6 years.
Right. And you go to DC and you faff about.
I mean, I guess it would be like being an ambassador to some important
country. Seems
country.
harder than that.
Yeah, well,
I mean, ambassador is
you have some tea.
Come for the party.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, but Gavin Newsom has been governor of a small country.
Yeah. and he
That's-
is not governed well. Taxes
a lot
are
of people
high,
will feel that way, and
homelessness
that's why
is high,
I think he
and
needs
his
distance from
approval
it.
ratings have gone down. You know, even among
People
Democrats.
don't think he's aged well. I think he's perfect.
No, he has aged very well.
He's so good looking.
He is the embodiment of a silver fox. And
Yeah.
so, and I was talking to some of the women who were fangirling you backstage at the DNC when you walked by. I thought they were going to throw their panties at you, and they were like intrigued by me. They're like, "What happened?"
But
at
did they
MTV?
think that we were the same person?
No. Because when you walked up, they're like, "Jessica Tarlov!" Because it's like you embody everything they could be. Like you slay dragons every day. It's 4-on-1, and in their eyes, like you win every day, every argument.
This is a totally accurate portrayal of what goes on
But
here.
we were discussing the candidates who have it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Josh Shapiro, he has
Has
it.
it.
Gavin Newsom, as much as I abhor
You know
his
he has
policies,
it.
there is something about him that is so attractive and charismatic.
Yeah.
And if you say there's not, you're lying.
Yes, and that's actually the best litmus test at these conventions, I think, for whether people can be honest brokers about it. Because anyone who listens to the Obamas and then says, like, I'm like, you're just not a serious person.
Yeah.
Right? If I were to hear Ronald Reagan, I guess, speak, I would have to be like, that was a damn good speech.
Amen.
Right? Sure.
Every time.
But I do think, and I listened to Glenn Youngkin very closely at the RNC, like, because those are the people who I think could be stars.
Yeah.
Like Glenn Youngkin could win a national election. I've listened to Nikki Haley a bunch of times. Maybe it's because the policy stuff is so hard for me to kind of stomach about it, but I don't see anyone that has it like Newsom has it, or
thing.
Obama on the Republican side.
I agree. I don't disagree.
So
and
what
I've
do they do then?
I've been on outnumbered with a lot of those people.
And you're like, you're just not impressive?
Yeah, it's, it's like, they're fine, but
Right.
they don't have, like, Bill Clinton has that thing.
Right.
It's insane. Like, I haven't seen him for years. I don't know if he still has it, but it's
I was at
wild.
an event with him a few years ago, and I think that you know him and you know what he accomplished as well, and that adds to it. So I still felt it, like on an aging person,
Sure.
obviously. But I don't think you lose that kind of charisma and ability to connect.
But you sure can't manufacture it.
No, and everyone tries.
Well,
and these
you
forced
never
lines,
know. You never know what happens between now and 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
No, look at
There's
what's going on
someone who
now.
can emerge. Like we weren't talking about Doug Burgum 2 years ago. Excuse me.
Bless you. Are we talking about him now?
No.
Okay, just checking.
He's another like super rich silver fox, but he's like IDGAF.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
he
he's
really
like,
doesn't
no
care.
abortions for you ever. And then
I
I
was
stopped
like,
listening.
Doug, come on.
Can I have
just
one more? Just kidding. Love my kids.
Of course.
Always choose
Yes.
life.
Yes.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Personally, not politically. It's yes, people show up. I mean, Ron DeSantis, when he got into office,
Yeah.
like the first
No
year
one
or two,
thought he
they
was
were
gonna
like, whatever about
win
this,
the
and then he's like
governorship.
turning Florida ruby red. He's winning by like 20 points running 20 points ahead of other people. Like, but then I wonder what happens to like a Marco Rubio, who I think has the policy chops to be able to do this.
Yeah, but
like,
he's a prickly pear.
I know,
Same with Ted Cruz and Rand Paul. I love Rand Paul. Rand Paul would be perfect, but he's a prickly pear.
Okay,
I love.
But that's a libertarian
love the
thing
guy.
that's happening.
But he also
Pick a normal Republican.
Thomas Massey.
Yeah, okay. I was like trying to place it. I was like, is she nuts enough to be thinking about the guy that I'm talking about? I find his Twitter account funny.
He's amazing.
And based Mike Lee. Like, what happened to Mike Lee?
I know. He's great. He didn't care either. He's like, fine, yeah, sure. I'm not on the Supreme Court. Don't care.
Don't care.
Yeah. He's like, I'll just tell you how it is now.
Yeah.
How you like them Utah apples. All right. Well, many conversations to be continued because we have a strange and interesting political road ahead of us for the next couple of months.
That it's fun.
Yeah, I agree. It's wild.
Like no one's coming to work like bored anymore.
No, and
it was that way.
Oh,
where I was like,
how is your job? And I'm like, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, we are extremely lucky that this was a job, even when it was the worst election ever.
Yeah.
But now it's like the twists and turns
All bets
of it.
are off.
All bets are off. And I think that people are becoming, at least on the Democratic side, or maybe these are rose-colored glasses if I was wearing them, but because there is a candidate that people are happy to support, whether she was your choice or not, everyone's becoming a little bit more real.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're happy to admit like, oh, this stuff is a problem. This is how we would get around it versus like Joe Biden saved a drowning kid at the beach this morning.
Did he?
Like, no, but you know, like he's so fit. I'm trying to think of like an example of like everything is fine. You know, you don't have to. And I never obviously went that far with it. I was like, he's going to be the candidate. This is what it is. It's a good legislative.
Oh my gosh, there's a lady, I bet $10,000 on my show that Joe Biden wouldn't be the nominee. She was a blonde Democrat. I have to find out who it is because she needs to pay me.
Like Laura Fink or someone?
It might be Laura Fink.
Oh, sorry, Laura.
Yeah.
If I just
No, I gotta find that. I gotta talk to Vic.
just take it from Marie.
Oh, I should tell Marie it was her.
Yeah.
And then just do AI.
And just roll the tape.
Yeah. And be like, yeah, you
Sorry.
owe me. No, it might have been Laura Fink. I gotta look at her because
That's the
it
only
was
other
definitely
blonde that I
someone who
know.
was like, yeah, he's definitely gonna be the nominee. I'm like, I'll bet you $10,000 right
But
now.
I thought he was. I mean, it wasn't me, but I definitely thought he was going to be the nominee. There was no.
So did
reason.
everyone. I mean, he was. He was
We
until
don't
he
have to say
wasn't.
he
And
was
then all of a
gonna be.
sudden one
He
day he wasn't.
That was a bad day, though. June 27th.
Wild day. You got to go get on the 5.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I got to cheers you one more time. To Jessica Tarlov, to friendship that transcends politics.
Totally.
Amen.
Your
This
crap
has been
politics.
Kennedy Saves the World.
To Thomas Massey.
To Thomas Massey. Along with Jessica Tarlov. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.